The Great Limpopo Transfrontier Park and Conservation Area is established through an international treaty between the three countries that was signed by the heads of state in 2002. The treaty basically provides for a two-phased approach. First, establishing the core, which is Limpopo, Kruger and Conroe National Park, with the Sengwe Peace Corridor linking Conroe and Kruger, then a broader conservation area around the core. The treaty also provides for the establishment of a ministerial committee and joint management board to implement the 6 objectives. So the main responsibility for implementing the 6 objectives sits with the joint management board, and this specific process talks to 2 of the 6 objectives, the one being establishment of a regional socio-economic initiative, and the second one is using tourism as a tool or mechanism to realize socio-economic benefits on the ground.
As the Joint Management Board, we partnered with the USAID Resident Program as well as Peace Parks Foundation to then put across a sustainable livelihood strategy that would look at the entire TFCA footprint and prioritize areas that would need further assistance or developing new projects or new proposals of how to beneficiate a larger portion of the communities that are living in and around the protected areas.
We're a development agency that believes in the importance of transboundary cooperation and helping different countries work together, build on each other's skills to both improve livelihoods, but also really to focus on a sustainable future for the region.
We appointed the specialist panel right at the beginning. They were at the inception meeting. It was almost the first thing we did. So we've brought a range of different specialists on that was scoped by the JMB at the beginning, and then we immediately brought them on, and they then helped us define the scope of the research phase and define the process of how we would proceed forward. After the inception phase, we started with a scoping phase, and there we went out, collected existing data that was available, and met and spoke to community representatives and NGOs, civil society, but also at that stage we were really focusing on district level, province level, and national level stakeholders. That all together we then populated into a scoping report, which we then made available to stakeholders in our process. One of the nice, interesting things we've tried to do here is an interactive web-based tool where you can tap into the data and define the perimeters of what you're looking for in that data. So the scenario planning was the first step of 3 workshops. In order for us to know what we need to do to achieve where we want to go, we need to know where it is that we want to go, so we need a vision. We also need to know where we are, and that's what the scoping helped us answer. But before we can say where we are and where we want to go, we also need to understand that the context in which we work is changing. As we design for the future, let's look at what's happening in our context so that we aren't caught off guard, understanding some of those big drivers that are changing the dynamic that we need to be aware of as we design for the future. We then went into a second workshop, and that workshop focused on ecosystem goods and services. We look at the land cover that exists in these areas and project how the natural resources and the ecosystem goods and services that those natural resources provide to people, which form the basis of livelihoods. We need to look at how those are likely to change without any intervention, and then also if we really put enormous amounts of effort into different types of intervention. The third workshop in our process was then to establish and correct the way in which the strategy helps us filter a huge, enormous range of possible interventions to a select strategic few. So we're asking questions about impact and cost and how many people are involved and what the type of impact is, and prioritizing projects on the basis of that. And then that also needs to be fed through a feasibility study, because there are environmental, social, economic costs and impacts that are associated with any intervention. We're developing business plans around a couple of key select projects. And in addition to that, realizing that all interventions are only as good as the more regional context, we're also looking at a landscape level.
Through this strategy, we want to build the resilience of people living around parks. We do this by allowing them to share in the benefits from conservation and by including them and making them part of the efforts to protect the incredible biodiversity of Southern Africa.